That's right. When we broke the story of his arrest on Friday, the only specifics that we had were from an anonymous source. But today we got our hands on this arrest report, and it confirms everything our source told us and much more. Now retired North Las Vegas police officer Spencer Kinney is facing charges of battery with substantial bodily harm, oppression under color of office, and false report by a public officer. NLVPD says on the night of April 24th, Kinney, along with several other officers, responded to a call for a suspect threatening residents with a pipe. There was a struggle, and those officers worked to detain the suspect using a K9 and taser. But a newly released arrest report reveals the Hispanic suspect was under control, with both of his hands being held behind his back when Officer Kinney allegedly kneed him in his face, breaking his jaw in 2 different places. The investigator noted that he reviewed body cam footage that shows Officer Kinney lift his right knee toward the suspect's face. The suspect's head is then seen snapping backward as he let out a gasp from Kinney's alleged knee strike. Officers on scene told the investigator that the suspect was no longer resisting when this happened. NLVPD sent News 3 about 30 seconds worth of the body cam footage, but you can't clearly see what's happening. Officers gave statements saying after the incident, Kinney asked if their body cameras were still on. And as the suspect sat handcuffed and bleeding on the curb, Kinney allegedly asked him sarcastically how his face felt, and even bragged later, saying to another officer, "Did you see the knee?" North Las Vegas police say they began investigating immediately after 2 officers reported Kinney's actions. The department says they denounce any use of excessive force. Kinney retired 2 months after the incident on June 24th, and he was arrested last week. He's since posted bail, and his next court date is set for November 18th.
The suspect is named Leonard Nash, and he's currently here in custody at the Clark County Detention Center. Detectives say they were able to crack the case by using DNA from the crime scene in 1980 and DNA collected here in Las Vegas in 2020. After 40 years, Southern California detectives believe they've cracked a cold case, and the suspected killer was living here in Las Vegas. The end of a long, painful chapter for victim Michelle Missy Jones' family.
I just burst out crying, and all I could say was thank God. Thank you, Jesus, for finally putting this to rest. Finally, we know.
Investigators have 66-year-old Leonard Nash in custody at the Clark County Detention Center. According to court documents, Nash is accused of murdering Jones on or around July 5th of 1980 in Fontana, California.
The victim's family did know this person.
Fontana police officer Jenny Venzer says Jones's family helped identify Nash as a person of interest this summer after investigators sent 40-year-old DNA evidence to a lab for testing. Then investigators came to Las Vegas and were able to obtain some of Nash's DNA to compare. It was a match to the DNA collected from the crime scene 40 years ago.
The detectives did an awesome job then and collected the evidence in hopes that later on with technology it would evolve and somehow, some way, this case would be solved. Without that DNA, I don't know how it would be solved, to be quite honest.
I couldn't do nothing but burst out crying and thanking the Lord, that's all.
Nash currently awaits extradition to San Bernardino County, where he'll soon appear before a judge. Jones's family grateful to be one step closer to justice.
It's like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. That weight is gone.
Yeah. Yeah, Marie, they make up the backbone of our working class. Many are union members. They tend to vote Democratic or at least lean Democratic. But now the Trump administration is claiming that many Latino voters are shifting his direction toward the Republican Party. Well, today, Senator Kamala Harris was in town hoping to convince those voters not to sway. Senator Kamala Harris arrived at an undisclosed location in Las Vegas Tuesday evening. Donning a mask, she was greeted by a handful of Latino community leaders and workers eager to hear what would set she and Joe Biden apart from the current administration.
We have a president of the United States in Donald Trump who has misled the American people, who has deceived the American people about the seriousness of this virus. He knew it was airborne.
Tonight's event, a stark contrast to the Henderson Trump rally this weekend, which drew thousands, many attendees not wearing masks and not social distancing.
He brought thousands of people together and wasn't concerned.
President Trump also spoke with Latino leaders on Sunday. Former Nevada Attorney General and Trump campaign leader Adam Laxalt explains
why he thinks Latino voters would be better served with another Trump term.
When the vice president picked Kamala Harris, he made a clear signal that he was choosing California-style politics. And we know that those politics would lead to the eradication of school choice. We know that those policies led to a very slow recovery.
The Latino community locally has been hit hard by COVID, from the casinos with layoffs and furloughs to private business owners like Regina Simmons, who operates Tacoterian restaurant downtown.
We need leadership. We need someone to guide us and help us go through this, and the restaurant industry needs help.
Part of our plan is what we can do in terms of providing paid leave for your employees, providing PPEs for you. We have, and part of the funding would include, for example, plexiglass, right? Which you talk about the gloves and you talk about sanitation stations.
As far as the Raiders go, their year just kicked off, and coming off a season-opening win, Coach Gruden talked about his top pick, Henry Ruggs, and the fact that he's been as advertised for him thus far, even battling through an injury in the opener.
I was impressed with Ruggs, especially early. I like the fact that he came back and played through something. That's what the great ones do. They play through pain. They play through difficult situations. He did that. He can stretch the field horizontally on the jet sweeps. He's a threat to carry it. And he's also obviously very fast vertically. But he made his presence felt. We've tried to get it to him early and often, and we'll continue to do that.